Hey guys, welcome back to Thursdays with Thaine. It's been a minute in between our last segment. However, we are looking to roll at least 1 to 2 videos each month for the remainder of the season for you. Now, today's segment, we are going to have a chat about training sessions. Now, I don't just mean the content of what we're actually putting in our sessions itself, but we also want to dive into the structure of the training session and how this could potentially look for each of you moving forward. So the idea around today's segment is based around educating coaches on an alternative approach to coaching their training sessions in a fun and game-based environment. Now, gone are the days of the old school approach of when coaches made their players run laps around the field for a warm-up, or even when you spent 30 minutes on the same drill. Now, today's video will hopefully help educate you on designing a training session that can not only help you with development of core fundamental skills, but at the same time making it more fun and enjoyable for your players, which can also help lead to maximum player involvement. Alright, so what the Auckland Rugby League have done is put together a simple and easy to follow process to help you build an exciting but educational session plan for your players. The breakdown of the session plan is as follows. First of all, we have a session theme. The session theme is something that you are wanting to base your training session around, so I'm talking about the technical skills you are wanting to develop within the game of rugby league. Now, these skills can be things such as grip and carry, catch and pass, the play the ball, tackling, evasion, and even kicking. Now, once you have your session theme, you can then start to build your training session. Now, the first part of our training session is called an arrival activity. An arrival activity is a simple skill challenge which matches the theme of your training session. As a coach, it is important to greet and welcome all of your players when they arrive. Have some simple challenges of a small game setup so that players can jump straight into the activity. This could be player-led, almost free play with just a couple of coaching constraints which relate back to your session theme. Players should be engaged and energized, ready to begin the session on time. This time also allows you as a coach to speak with your parents and organize your volunteers for the session if you haven't already done so. Now, once all of your players have arrived to training and all the kids are involved in the arrival activity, look to then run a small-sided game for your warm-up. Now, small-sided games, also known as TGFU, so teaching games for understanding, are great ways to develop technical skills and can be used as a warm-up or as a conditioning tool. This part of the session is designed to maximize player involvement and to observe skill levels for individuals during a game setting. Now, the game should be built around the session theme and incorporate the skills needed for the participant's skill level. Mistakes are also expected, so don't focus on these areas too much at this point of the session. This is where the players will learn. Now, learn how to coach on the move and only stop the small-sided game if absolutely needed. The next part of the session plan is what we call the skill activity. Now, this is an activity to improve and develop skill through instruction, demonstration, and practice. The skill development phase should be done through closed or open activities. This is also the time to develop and improve technical skills relating to the session theme. The activity needs to have maximum player involvement and meet the needs of participant skill levels. Coach using the DEPI method, so demonstration and explanation, practice, and evaluate. This is the opportunity to break down the key learnings of the technical skills for the player development. Keep explanation and demonstration short and sharp. Have the bulk of the learning through practice. Now, also don't be afraid to really strip back the learning process and break it down for the players as best as possible. Challenge and encourage with positive feedback. Our next step is to transition from the skill activity into a game. This is a great opportunity to test and develop skills relating to the session theme. The game should be one where you challenge the players and put them under a bit more pressure. Accept errors during this phase. This is still part of the learning process. Stop and start the session only if needed. Coach on the move and use positive and specific feedback. Now, also don't be afraid to ask questions of the playing group to see what they are thinking, feeling, and experiencing at certain stages of the game. Our last step of the training session is an important one, and that's to review and reflect on the session to check for player understanding. Now, what did they learn? What can they improve on? Did they have fun? Now, these are some of the examples of questions we can ask for player understanding. Now, make sure we give positive and specific feedback on the overall session, praise as a group, and try not single out players as often as we can. Engage with the parents at this time. Also explain what the session theme was and the improvements gained. A key part as a coach is to also review ourselves. Make some notes after training, what worked for us and why. What were some of the things we could do differently for the next session? Self-review is key for coach development. This will help with development of our coach delivery also. Okay guys, now that we have a brief overview of what a training session structure could be, what we will look at now is an example of an actual training session. The first thing I'm going to do is set the theme of my training session. So my theme for today was going to be catch and pass. Now that I have my theme, I want to set my arrival activity for the players for when they arrive at training. A simple activity here is going to be a game of piggy in the middle. Some of the rules that we could use for this game is if the ball is intercepted or if the ball is dropped, that player will become in the middle. As more players come, either add them to the existing game or have them start a new one. We are then going to move into a small-sided game. An easy game to play here would be a game of 10 pass. Now 10 pass is not only a fun game to play, but it's also great for skill development. First thing I'm going to do is mark out a playing area of 15 meters by 15 meters. You will then need to split the playing group into 2 even teams. If you have the use of bibs, these are great here also. On the signal, hand the ball to a member of one of the teams. The objective of this game is to have the team pass the ball around team members and try and reach a total of 10 passes. Now the opposition team must try and either intercept the ball or knock the ball down mid-pass. If the ball is intercepted, the defending team now becomes the attacking team and must try and reach 10 passes. If the ball is knocked down, this should also be a changeover. Now increasing the field size could make it easier for players by giving them more space to pass the ball, but decreasing the field size can also make the game harder for players by restricting space for them to execute a pass. Okay, so now we have completed our small-sided game. We are going to move into a skill activity, but we are going to actually break this down into 2 parts for you. So part A will be a closed activity. A closed activity is an opportunity for you as a coach to really break down the skill that you're actually wanting to teach for that session. So my closed activity for this part, I'm going to start off with pairing the players up 3 to 5 meters apart, and each pair will have a ball. Now it is important to note I will increase or decrease the distance between players depending on their skill level. This will help with skill development. At this time I will then explain the key fundamental skills of catch and pass and how the correct process is done. The players will then pass the ball backwards and forwards to each other, practicing the correct techniques. Now once I'm satisfied with the closed activity, I will then look to move into part B of the session, and for this we will use what we call an open activity. For this part of the session I'll be doing an activity called passing waves. This activity is an opportunity to slowly progress from stationary catch and pass to a moving pass with a moving target. So mark out a playing area 20 meters by 15 meters. Divide the team into even lines of 3 to 4 players. Have players to line up at both ends of the playing grid. Place one ball at the end of the grid, and on the signal, the first row will jog forward, passing the ball along the line. Encourage the players to catch the ball off their chest. When the ball gets to the end of the line, it is then passed to the first player in the next line, who will then bring the ball back, passing down the line through each of the players. To make the grid more difficult, add in a second ball. Have each line set off at the same time. Having moving players in front of them will only put a bit more pressure on them, and this will help develop the skill. From there, we are going to move into a game. Now, my game of choice for this session is going to be aligned to our session theme, and that's a game of offside touch. Now, this game is a really good way to progress the development of the skill, as it closely aligns to an actual game of rugby league, but has minimal rules and is very easy to follow. So I'm going to start off by splitting the group into 2 even teams. You can either play 2-hand touch or with tags. In this game, there is no offside rule. The ball must first be passed backwards and then may be passed in any direction. A turnover will occur if a try is scored, a pass is dropped, or the ball carrier is touched or tagged. If the ball carrier is touched or tagged, they must drop the ball immediately on the ground for play to resume. This game encourages improvisation of play, so allowing play to flow by removing unnecessary stoppages is important for skill development. Now, finally, I'm going to move into the review and reflection part of the session. So here I'm going to ask a couple of questions for understanding. So things like, who had fun today? What were the 2 main skills we were trying to learn today? Who can show me the correct catching technique, and who can show me the correct passing technique? So get the kids to stand up and perform those techniques to show for understanding. Now from there, I will finish off with some positive feedback. So great work today, team. I think you've all done a fantastic job. Make sure you remember what we have learned today, because we will be coming back to do more practice on our catch and pass for our next training session. Alright guys, so that pretty much sums up our segment for this month. Now from here, I encourage each and every one of you to try and do a training session like this. If you would like some help with one of your sessions, or you're struggling, message me directly and I'll be more than happy to help when and where I can. Now, on the flip side of that, if you do try a session like this, please message in and give us a bit of feedback on how your session actually went. We'd definitely love to hear from you. Now, as always, thanks for tuning in. I'm looking forward to seeing some of your session plans over the coming weeks. Stay safe out there, guys, and we'll talk again soon.